Hi, I'm Mike McGrean at highimpactplanning.com. So you've worked all these years and now you're approaching retirement. You've been diligent at saving, you've foregone some instant spending gratification in favor of tucking away money for retirement. Now what do? What's a prudent way to start accessing some of these retirement savings? Well, too often people simply think you cash out your RSP when you retire. That's obviously the wrong approach. We'll dig into that. First, let's do a quick revisit on the RSP investment savings strategy because it does tie into the question at hand. How do you best access funds from your RSP and what are your best options? Well, an RSP is a tax-sheltered investment account. You picture a house. Money goes in the front door and now it's in the front hall. Money needs to be put into a room. And a room in this circumstance is an investment inside the house, whether it's a stock, a bond, a GIC, a mutual fund, exchange traded fund. But it's the action of putting money in the front door, which is a contribution. This generates the tax receipt where you can earn a tax refund based on your tax rate. Once money is in the house, you can move it from room to room, which is switching and rebalancing investments, because all of this activity is tax sheltered. After many years of contributing money and investing, your RSP will have grown tax sheltered. At retirement, now you need to replace your employment income and you need to access some funds from your RSP for your retirement living expenses. The most flexible way is for Canadians to convert their RSP to a RRIF. It's like moving the contents of your entire RSP house into a new RRIF house. It's a new account. You will name a new beneficiary, which can be the same as the old beneficiary of your RSP. Assets will roll tax-free from your RSP house into the new RRIF house, and you can own the same assets or you can rebalance. Unmatured GICs in the RSP can roll over as well into the new RRIF. Now, money drawn out the front door of the RRIF is like income that is taxed as regular income. You will earn a T4 RRIF, which is a tax slip showing the income that comes out the front door. You must convert your RSP by the end of the year in which you earn 71, and income must then be drawn from the RRIF the following year according to a schedule. Well, this table lays out the minimum RRIF factors, which are percentage withdrawal requirements based on your age. This percentage is applicable to the value of your RRIF on January the 1st, the following year, which is in fact the year you really turned 72. This table lays out the minimums, but you can take out more subject to tax because all RRIF income is taxable. You can see each year as you get older, the government is requiring you to take out more and more on a percentage basis in order to take that money from your tax sheltered account into T4 taxable income. This table shows the withholding tax on money that is withdrawn in excess of your RRIF minimum. So there is no withholding tax on minimums. Minimums are still considered taxable income, but withholding tax only applies on the excess. The option to withhold tax on the entire amount still exists. That's your minimum and your excess. And any tax withheld is treated like a tax installment. And depending on your total annual taxable income from all sources, you may get a refund of some of this withholding tax. But again, depending on your overall income, you may end up owing more. You can convert your RSP anytime prior to age 71 if you need income. Say, for instance, you retire earlier. But if you don't need the income, you should allow those funds to grow inside your RSP tax sheltered. Now let's look at an example. Say you turn 71 in July. You must convert your RSP to a RRIF no later than the end of this calendar year. All assets will then roll over from your RSP into your RRIF. Say on January 1 now, it's your RRIF balance is $500,000. You would take that value, multiply it by your RRIF factor based on your age. In this case, 5.28%. Doing that math is $26,400. And it's this amount that is your minimum that you must withdraw as income from your RRIF. Often people will take this in monthly payments in order to match their lifestyle spending needs. Now let's look at some common questions. Since a RRIF is a new account, be sure to name a beneficiary. If you're married, most often people will name their spouse. There's a provision in the Income Tax Act called the Spousal Rollover, which is a tax-free transfer of your RSP or your RRIF to the surviving spouse's RSP or RRIF. Having a named beneficiary allows you to avoid probate tax. And this probate tax differs by province, but Ontario, it's typically around that 1.5% in estate tax that's applied to your probatable assets. If your estate is listed as beneficiary, this is not considered a named beneficiary, therefore probate tax would apply. Consider the option of naming a contingent beneficiary, which is a secondary beneficiary in the event that both spouses pass away simultaneously. If your contingent beneficiary is not a spouse, then the tax-free spousal rollover provision would not apply, but funds will pass timely, efficiently, and probate-free to your intended beneficiary, but the estate is still responsible for the regular tax bill owing on the RRIF asset as it is considered sold in the year of death. Be aware of naming minor children as beneficiaries or children with disabilities. There are rules on this that varies by province, and those with disabilities may already be receiving some form of government benefit, and this new asset or income may jeopardize their eligibility for that disability benefit. There are ways of structuring this in a beneficial way, but you should really talk to a qualified lawyer to ensure your wishes are reflected accurately and not to the detriment of your beneficiary. Remember that RRIF income is taxable. It's T4 income. And depending on your other income sources, this additional RRIF income may put you in jeopardy of the old age security clawback, which is an income-tested government benefit. And if you're married and your spouse is younger than you, one consideration might be to name your spouse using their age as the applicable age for calculating your RRIF factor. And further, you can split up to 50% of your RRIF income with your spouse. You must be 65 years and older in order to qualify for this RRIF income splitting. Now, you may do a partial RSP to RRIF conversion prior to age 71, and there's some situations or even some advantages to doing this, but a full conversion again is required by the end of the year in which you turn 71. One of these advantages, though, involves the pension tax credit. This is starting at age 65, and if you have no other private or employer pension income, you can earn up to $2,000 worth of T4 RRIF income tax-free. The year that you turn 71 is the last year that you can make a final RSP contribution if you have the available room, and this must be done by December 31st of that year. But if you have RSP contribution room still after age 71, you can make contributions to your spouse's spousal RSP if your spouse is age 71 or younger. Now, coming back to your RRIF factors, you can see that the older you get, the more you will need to draw as a percentage of that account. Later in life, these percentages are high. Even though you must withdraw money at a higher rate, this doesn't mean that you necessarily need to spend all this money, but you must take it into income at least. You can choose to save any excess withdrawals that you don't need for living expenses, like in your tax-free savings account if you have the available room. Well, understanding these tax rules and having a plan on how best to draw income, all of that's really important because at the end of the day, upon you and your spouse's ultimate passing, the value of your RRIF is considered a taxable event to the estate. And again, there are ways of effectively planning around all of this. With our Income 65 high impact planning approach, we dig into it all. I hope you found today's chat helpful. Thanks again for being with me.